As we get set for the Shannons V8 Touring Car National Series, it's the final round of an ever-growing series. It gets better and better each time they hit the racetrack.
Track conditions must have changed over what it was like this morning.
Yeah, well, I didn't go out in the first practice because of it was just so wet, and then it was just drying out when we went out later. Hey, no, track conditions a little bit warmer than it was this morning, so obviously I think we'll all be a bit slower. But no, it wasn't too different from qualifying. Obviously, a lot better than the wet this morning.
Pressure's on tomorrow. Two guys, top three within 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, look, we're all pretty close, and Tony, as you know, is winning the series. Terry's a fantastic driver. He's a hard punter on cold tyres, so he always worries me. But look, we're here to do our best and fight for second and see how we go.
Yeah, South Australian driver Chris Merton right in the thick of the action all season long and right at the front of the field this weekend. In fact, a great qualifying battle between himself and Tony Evangelo. The pair separated by just hundredths of a second. And in the thick of it too was Terry Wyhoon. An incredible time attack on Saturday as well for championship points was awesomely close. Race 1 highlights. The field got underway. Ian Dyke joins me in commentary today for all of the action from Sandown Shannons Nationals, and to turn 1 at least it was all pretty plain sailing.
It is a long run down to turn 1 from that start line, so it's always going to be pretty busy. A little bit wide on the exit there, bouncing over a bit of grass, and it ends badly as he sweeps across the track. Yep, Teb and John Vigotis made heavy contact, and that brought out the safety car. And a really unfortunate incident, especially for Vigotis, who just had nowhere to go. Teb, meanwhile, limped his car back to pit lane with serious damage, while JV surveyed the damage on his battered and bruised AU Falcon. Field got back underway after a brief safety car intervention, and it was Tony Evangelo who led them through down towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Shepherd and Matt Hansen, who was in good form this weekend, having a good battle. Dice was on for third, Wyhoon and Chris Merton having a fight in for third place. Yeah, there's a good part of the circuit to try and set yourself up with a run onto the back straight. Vero, and it ends badly. As I said, run onto the back straight. He mounts the curb on the exit of that corner, as we saw, and spears the Armco on the inside. Yeah, really pounded the Armco there, Chris Merton. A lot of damage to the front of that ex-James Courtney Stone Brothers Racing BA Falcon. And that left this man, Terry Wyhoon, alone and safe in second place. Using all the road out onto the front straight. Aims for the finish line on the final lap. Speaking of final laps, it was for Tony Evangelo. Showed the field a clean pair of heels this time out and took out race 1 of the Shannons V8 Touring Cars. A dramatic, action-packed affair in the morning sun at Sandown Raceway. Confirmation of results, Stephen Voigt was a very strong third, with Matt Hansen fourth. Mark Shepherd, newbie Sean Fennell was next, and Izzy Ambrosio completed the 7.
Chris Merton, great day yesterday during qualifying, but not so great today. What happened?
Well, yeah, you're right about yesterday. I promised the boys a bottle of Moe, which we knocked off last night, hey? And I was a bit slow off the start, so maybe it was that glass of champagne that got to me today. But hey, I don't know. It wasn't a very good start for me, and ended up in third. And look, I was chasing Terry after the restart there, after the safety car went off, and coming on to turn 4 up the back straight there, I just caught the concrete on the power and turned the car around and hit the Armco, both front and rear. So I hate it with a new car, but hey, that's motor racing. You've got to get used to it.
Yeah, we've struggled a little bit this weekend. I haven't been here for a couple of years, and yeah, we didn't qualify as well as we had. We got balked a couple of times in qualifying, so that frustrated me a bit. Now, time attack, we tried something else and it didn't quite work. You know, we just sort of went a little bit backwards this weekend, but we sort of put the car back to where we think it would have been pretty good. Had a fantastic start. Got round turn 1, great. Saw Tebsy go off onto the right, and he was bouncing all over the place. And before I knew it, he's heading straight for me, straight in my driver's door, then punched me straight into the Armco railing. You can imagine I was fairly disappointed in the car. You know, I take pride in my car and the way it looks, and it doesn't look very healthy today, so I'm very disappointed. So we'll try and fix it. I'm sure we'll straighten it out, but it won't look pretty for this weekend anyway. Well, at least he's still got a smile on his face. John Vigotis battling on, and he gets that car back out on the racetrack as we go back and look at race 2 of the Shannons V8 Touring Cars. You can see his car rolling into position. This is how they lined up. Evangelo, Wyhoon, Voigt, he's going well this weekend in the Sydney Star Racing Commodore. Matt Hansen likewise having a good run. Mark Shepherd, Fennell, Ambrosio, and Vigotis goes from P8. The race got underway with Voigt on the front row, but a good start, Ian Dyke, from Terry Wyhoon.
Brilliant start as he leads the field down. We saw everyone make their way into the first corner reasonably cleanly, and it's a bumpy bit of road on the approach there, so occasionally causes a bit of a mishap, but they all made it through line astern. And he had a bit of a look down towards Dandenong Road, but stayed behind for that particular lap.
Yeah, discretion the better part of Vela there. Evangelo carved his way through and started putting the pressure on Terry Waihoon. Tebb using all the curb, and Voigt and Hansen continued their little war. Great to see the ex-Gary Rogers Motorsport car right in the thick of the action, with the former sports sedan racer in Voigt doing a good job. Meanwhile, it was on for the lead, and Evangelo didn't take long to work his way back to the front.
Tebb out onto the front straight, manages to take that successful passing manoeuvre in towards the first corner, comes out the other side one position better. Yeah, did a good job on Shepherd there, and the start finished straight, just down towards turn one. Real textbook passing manoeuvre. There's Waihoon. Meanwhile, Voigt had problems. He hit the pit lane, and the Voigt contracting VY Commodore. Dramas, which was a shame because he was running very, very well in race one and also in this race in that battle he was having with Matt Hansen. There was no catching Evangelo though. He might have already wrapped up the series, but he was looking for another clean sweep to end his season on a real high. Terry Waihoon pressed him hard and set the fastest lap of the race just towards the end, but couldn't chase down the rampant Victorian who took 2 from 2 in the Shannons V8 touring cars.
Tony's definitely got it over us all this weekend in speed. He's driving the car real straight. I mean, I was just talking to him there before, and, you know, normally he's fast for a few laps and then burns the tyres off a little bit, and I was keeping an eye on him. He's driving real well, and he sort of, even though we were, you know, we did the fastest lap in that race, he was a little bit more consistent. And, yeah, we need to tighten my car up a little bit so we can have a good race in this last one.
So looking for a good race in the finale is Terry Waihoon. He finished second in race 2. Sean Fennell on debut on the podium. Awesome job in the Power Plus Commodore. Welcome back. Sandown Raceway, the scene of the final round of the Shannons V8 Touring Car National Series. Well, Terry Waihoon's been a front runner in this category since day one, and in fact supplies a lot of the cars on the grid this weekend. We caught up with the experienced Victorian to find out how his weekend's going.
What is it about this place? There's been some craziness on the circuit.
Mate, well, this is only really my second race meeting here, believe it or not, so closest track to home, but only did the Shannons around here last year and a little bit in the sports sedan, but yeah, there's been some wild tactics out there, that's for sure. A couple of cars busted up early on, which is a bit of a shame, but mate, we're here to race. Everyone wants to win. Yeah, let's bring it on.
Bring it on indeed. Red light on, set for a start. Final race in the growing category that is the Shannons V8 Touring Cars. We're away. Evangelo struggling to get that car off the line.
Initially looked like he had 2 bites of it. I thought it was going to be a complete disaster, but he's recovered here. Hansen, it appears to be down the outside from the second row. How's this going to end on the exit of turn 1? Evangelo's got the line.
He got a good run, didn't he? But Evangelo's in the ideal position to hold on to the race lead, where he's been all weekend long, and just squeezes Hansen out of that position into the right-left sequence at turns 2 and 3.
Big slide there on the exit of the chicane for Waihoon as he tries to put the power down.
Ambrosio there in the car that he shared with Dean Kovacevic all season long out of Perth. They come a long way to go racing in the Shannons V8 Touring Cars. Waihoon nowhere in this race, looking to work his way through. A really slow start and looking to make up a lot of ground.
Evangelo's established a pretty comfortable lead on this opening lap. The best part of 6 or 7 car lengths. Voigt down the inside of Hansen using a heap of track. You'd have to say using track that wasn't even there as he jumped the curb, but I think he successfully managed to take that position.
He'll get an angry letter from the Melbourne Racing Club who look after this facility, and it is in pristine condition. Not so much for some of these cars if they get closer. 3 wide into the final sequence of corners. John Vagotis right in the thick of the action, as to Matt Hansen in the 5 car. And the Image Racing Best Western car from Shepparton. Shepherd right in the thick of it too.
And it almost looks like the opening lap as they head down towards turn 1 for the second time. Still a whole bunch of cars here fighting for position, and all the way back to 8th place. I think they're all chasing this final spot on the podium.
Tebb in there with a new front bar on his Commodore, so he's rebounded from damage in race 1. It's a battle of the AU Falcons, isn't it? Leader goes through. There's Voigt. And then a gap back to Vagotis, Shepherd, Hansen, and now Waihoon, who's starting to fly in the Image Racing BA.
These are a very heavy car, and it's going to take a couple of laps to get the tyres up to ideal operating temperature. So we can see off some of these tighter corners, drivers really struggling for traction. With Waihoon now over the top, one of the fastest parts of the circuit, and trying to pull it up deep under brakes into Dandenong Road, this tight left-hander. Manages to make a bit of ground on Hansen, I believe, in front of him. Now going to look up the inside towards the final chicane. Well executed so far.
Curb on the inside, bounces it off two wheels. There's one position. Vagotis has run very wide in front of him, used all of the curb and then some of the grass as well. And I think Waihoon can capitalise here.
It's an exciting couple of corners there for the 49 car, making up 2 positions in quick succession. He'll be very happy.
Good move, and Waihoon gets a couple more. Teb now looking down the inside of Hansen. So Matty Hansen's got the short back and sides up and down the leaderboard like a yo-yo in the last lap and a half. Another of the contingent from WA's car, based in Wagga Wagga actually, but travels all the way over from Perth to go racing at each round of the Shannons V8 Touring Car National Series.
Still, this line of cars from 3rd to 8th place, fighting for the same position. Evangelou has absolutely checked out, disappeared down the road. Voigt's working in his own clear bit of track there in 2nd.
And just behind this pack is the newbie this weekend, Sean Fennell, in his first ever car race, up behind Ambrosio in the ex-Perkins Motorsport car, who was having a fairly substantial lock-up of a unloaded Kumo tyre on the inside at Dandenong Road. And looks like a pass going on there as well. Great effort by Vagotis to get his car back out on the racetrack. A lot of damage. And the 2 protagonists that came together in race 1 earlier in the morning, nose to tail on the racetrack as we ride with Evangelou.
Let's have a listen to the cars through this tight chicane. Very, very smooth and considerate on his throttle application. You've got to be decisive, you've got to get the power down, but aggression usually doesn't work, so he's opening up that throttle, really trying to dial it in as best he can to get the power to the ground.
So Waihoon has cleared Shepherd, his teammate. Those 2 cars prepared out of the Image Racing stable. That is Terry Waihoon's outfit. Great team. They prepare a lot of cars, in fact upwards of 2 or 3 cars at some rounds in the Shannons V8 Touring Car National Series. Back to this battle. Fennell up the inside, fastest point of the racetrack on Ambrosio, and gets it done. Nice move.
It's a brave place to put your car over 250 kilometres an hour across the top there to dive up the inside of Ambrosio. I bet you they were both holding on for dear life at that point.
This is the Power Plus 98 car. Steve Owen has raced that car a couple of times in the Shannons V8 Touring Car National Series. Man on the podium at Mount Panorama just a few weeks ago. Back on board with Waihoon.
He's managed to make his way up to 3rd position. He's chasing down Voigt here in front of him. The approach to turn 1 a little bit bumpy, spending a long time on the brakes as you try and pull the car up for that tight left-hander.
V8 Touring Car National Series run a control ECU that limits the revs to 7,000. They use a control Kumo tyre and a couple of other little control components. Frank Lowndes has been heavily involved in the technical side of this category and making sure it's all been policed. Here's a dice. Vagotis and Teb, they've been at it since lap 1 of race 1 when they both ended up with pretty severe damage, and they continue to swap positions now in the final race of the year.
I think Vagotis tried to muscle his way a little bit through there and gave Teb a friendly touch on the apex of that corner. Fortunately, they both kept it straight. Teb got a good run off the turn and led the way all the way up the back straight. Looking back now at Voigt and Waihoon.
2nd place, and Voigt starting to drive defensively in the Gary Rogers Motorsport Commodore. This is the car that Cam McConville won at Winton in all those years ago when he passed on the very last lap of the race to win in the final few corners in difficult conditions. So it's a pretty well-known car, and great to see them being presented in their original livery. Here goes Waihoon. Pretty textbook overtaking manoeuvre, that one.
Indeed, bridged the gap to Voigt. He had the best part of 100 metres of track between them a couple of laps ago. Managed to clear that gap and then successfully overtake into 2nd position.
Matt Hansen having a great weekend. Teb running very, very wide, and that's going to allow Vigotis to buy into that position. In fact, he goes right round the long way into the right-hand corner, then bounces the car hard off the curb. Hansen in there as well. Teb looking just a little bit ragged at turn 1, and it's cost him momentum, and also at 4, might cost him power down on this long back straight. So, great battle pack. Just hovering in behind them is the ex-Perkins Motorsport Jack Daniels car. Izzy Ambrosio shares it with Dean Kovacevic all season long. Mentioned before the long trek from Perth to go racing.
Vigotis now, having applied pressure for the last few laps to the back of Teb's car, has got clear track in front of him. He'll be hoping to really put his head down and establish a bit of space between those two cars.
Mark Shepherd out in front of them, the Warby Lodge Image Racing AU. And this category is such a great place for old V8 supercars to find a home and to get them on the racetrack. We had some really good fields early in the year. A solid field this weekend. We should mention, in fact, Chris Delsma, the Century 21 car, unfortunately unable to take the start after blowing an engine in qualifying. Dropped a conrod in that, I'm told. So really unfortunate for Chris, who absolutely loves this place. Had a lot of success here in production car racing and very, very keen to run here in his AU, the ex-Howard racing car, and really coming to grips with his V8 touring car debut. Just a couple of rounds under his belt. He'll be back bigger and better in 2011. So will many of these competitors, and some new cars coming on stream as well. Some new competitors shaping up to get involved in this growing series. Here we go again. Teb versus Vigotis, side by side to the top of the hill.
That's two moves in the same race at that very, very fast bit of road. Vigotis locked the inside wheel on the way onto the back straight down at turn 4, and that ultimately affected his run all the way up the hill. Teb making the most of it at the top.
And a carbon copy just behind them as well, with Matt Hansen going the long way around Sean Fennell in the VX, the Power Plus car.
These two all over each other. Vigotis trying to look up the inside onto the final corner. Teb trying to put the power down out on that concrete curb. Never a lot of grip right out there.
Hansen had a massive moment behind them as well, and that'll leave him open to attack from Fennell, and Ambrosio fighting his way into this one as well. So battles left, right and centre in the Shannons V8 touring cars. Vigotis curb. He got it up on 2 wheels.
He's approaching from a very narrow line into that first corner, and I dare say on the last lap, he was very defensive into that first corner, and it really allowed Teb to close the gap, and he's pushing up the inside here. Teb would have just seen the nose at the very last moment. Gracefully allowed him a bit of space, graciously as well as gracefully.
Well, it was gracefully, wasn't he? Just left enough room. It's not if you can say a V8 touring car is graceful, but I think that's a fair example of that. Now Hansen's dropped back, and dramas for Fennell too. So the rookie's starring role in this race comes to an end. His car slowing up the back chute.
Teb now trying to pull it up. Vigotis all over him. These two are really having a ding-dong battle here. It's been going on now for the best part of 6 laps, and neither of them are willing to give up. Space up the inside, definitely not. They're using all of the curbs again.
Oh, 2 wheels! Vigotis, he's lost it, he's gone round. Off to the infield, and John Vigotis has thrown away a potential podium. Too much curb on the inside. Loses the car, and around he goes.
Definitely too much curb. You could see it just bounced the car very high, and with an unloaded vehicle, he's tried to get on the gas nice and early, and unfortunately it's ended in a spin. Have a look at it.
Oh.
Very, very high. Lots of air under the inside of the car. He's on the power as early as possible, still to try and make the move, and results in a spin.
Well, it was Teb into Vigotis in race 1. It was almost Vigotis into Teb in race 3. What a weekend those two have had. And what a shame for Vigotis. He's been so good, so fast here this weekend. So too this man, Tony Evangelou. What a season it's been. He racked up the championship coming into this round. And just to put an exclamation point on his brilliant 2010 season, it becomes 3 from 3 at Sandown for the local boy, the champion and the final round winner as well in the Shannons V8 touring cars. Voigt was 3rd, Shepherd, Teb, Hansen, Ambrosio, and John Vigotis crept across the line in 8th place after a busy day out.
Tony Evangelou, congratulations. Season's over. It's all done and dusted. Champion.
Yeah, no, it feels good. I won one in 2001. I was lucky enough, so honestly didn't think I'd be standing here winning another one. So no, it's been a really good season, been consistent. So yeah, got rewarded at the end for it.
Terry Wyhoon, interesting year. You missed a couple of rounds, but might have been a little bit different championship points-wise had you completed the day like you did today.
Yeah, that's true, Sean. That's what Garage has pointed out as well. I mean, it's the second time in a row that we've been runner-up. But you're quite right, you've got to do them well. We were going to run Bathurst this year in another series, so we opted to miss Eastern Creek for it, and that didn't eventuate, so thought we'd come back this weekend and lucky enough to win the event.
So after an eventful day at Sandown Raceway, these are the final points after a great season for the Shannons V8 touring cars. Our champion is Evangelou, but some big names right in the thick of the action.